Start going. There we go. It just has a little bit of a lag of getting going. All right, so when you go to export, if you've done your work in Premiere, you have your sequence, and then you go to export OMF. Sample rate 48, bit depth 16, files, separate audio. AIFF, and you're trimming audio files. If you do the entire audio files, then we'll really have big folder files. We want to do 20-second handles, so that is 600 frames. Then I'm in this folder in my documents, my export folder. I'm going to say class example export. Let that save, and what it's doing, it's creating the OMF file that basically points to things, and it's making a folder full of all of the audio files. So you have to send me both. If you only send me the OMF, it does nothing but tell me look on somebody else's computer for these audio files. So you've got to send the folder and the OMF that it creates. If you're doing it with Blackboard, you probably want to compress it so that you're just uploading one file. If you do it in Dropbox, then it really doesn't matter. You could do the whole folder with all the individual files. It won't make any difference to me.
How would you be doing it with Final Cut?
Huh?
What about Final Cut?
I'm going to show you guys that in a second. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like in Finder. Go to my documents and SELEG TBG, exports. So I've got this class example export, and you see you've got the log, which really gives me just your setting info. I don't really care if you send me that or not. There's the actual OMF, which if we look over here at the size, that's 86 kilobytes. There's nothing in that but basically pointers that go to this audio files folder where all these little audio chunks are saved. That means nothing to me, but when I import this OMF, it'll look for those files. So you could just take this whole folder and drag it to Dropbox, or right-click on it and compress it, and then take that compressed folder and upload it on Blackboard. That's how you can be sure I actually have everything that you did. I don't want to not see any of your work. If you are in Final Cut 7, let me just throw something else on here so there's another. Okay, there's some sounds on there now. And then you also go to File, Export, and except I need to have my sequence selected before I do that. Export audio to OMF. In this case, they say length in seconds, so I can say 20 seconds. Here would be frames. If you did anything with levels or crossfades, include that information. If you didn't, it really doesn't matter. And then you say OK and tell it where to save it. So I'm going to go to that same folder, exports, and this is from Final Cut, and save. And it's going through and doing the same process. In this case, Final Cut does save real OMFs that have all of the files embedded within it. I don't know why Premiere doesn't actually follow through on that, but Final Cut does, so it's just going to be, the one folder and the log that I don't really need. So from Final Cut Pro, you've got one OMF, and you can see this is 93 megabytes. So there's actually enough size that there's something within that. And Premiere does save it, but I think it only works going into Pro Tools. It doesn't work going into Logic, so I can't review it at home because I don't have that $500 plugin. So I'll be much faster reviewing things if you send it to me in a way I can review at home, since I'm not here like at 10 o'clock at night when I usually get to look at this stuff. Now, Final Cut Pro 10, for some reason, doesn't think it's important for people to be able to export OMFs. So there is no direct way to export an OMF. This, to me, is maddening and is one of the many reasons I don't like that software. I know some people like it, but it gets under my skin. I did find one other possible solution today. How many people have been working in Final Cut Pro 10? Okay, a couple people. Hopefully this works. It is so convoluted. There was some plugin that was supposed to work that Joey tried and didn't. I will post this link for you guys, but I don't have Final Cut Pro 10, so I can't test this, and it's not on any school computers. But basically, the theory is you can take Final Cut Pro 10 and export a QuickTime file that is 4 separate audio tracks that apparently still has tracks cut up. It doesn't do handles, though, so you'll need to extend out your audio a little bit before you export it so those handles still exist. So any of your clips, you'll need to do a little in the beginning and a little in the end so that I can do fades. Then you can import that QuickTime file into Final Cut Pro 7 and export an OMF, supposedly.
And if you do it in 7, then you still need to do anything with the handles? Or
Once it's in 7, I mean, all you'll have is what's left. And then you just do the export the OMF. Yeah, there's no handles to be had. I don't think. You can try to say handles and we'll see if it gives anything. If there's no data to give handles, it just won't. So I'll post this tutorial. But this is one of the better ones I found that looks like it might work. And there's screen captures along the way. So that makes me more confident that somebody actually got this to work instead of just somebody typing out some idea. If you haven't started this yet and are thinking about doing Final Cut Pro 10, just don't. And that will be easier for you. Or if you aren't too far, you may want to just export some of the stuff you have and then start working in 7. Even their XMLs from Final Cut Pro 10 won't go into 7 or almost anything else. I really don't even know what the point of their XMLs are. Like, to go to another Final Cut Pro 10 system? I don't know. So the other thing with this is just making a list of like what the tracks are, because it doesn't give me that information. So if you had everything on track 2 is footsteps, to put that in Word, and like where you got your sounds from in case we need to go find more that are very similar. So I know, okay, this came from the sound computer there. It's really just if you don't write it down when you do it, you will forget. And then if you ever have to go back and find more similar sounds of that grouping, it's really tough to find them. Does that make sense for actually getting this stuff out of software? And if you start in any other software, please make sure it can export OMFs before you proceed. I don't get why they do this. All right, I'm going to stop this recording.